Boom, baby, we're live. Welcome to Tokyo Crypto Show, episode 123, where we're going to be talking about the Dutch farmers' strike. Now, you may be asking, what does that have to do with cryptocurrency and the global events? It has a lot to do with what's happening right now in the world. And they are trying to stop their country from going the way of Sri Lanka. It is really eerily coincidental what's happening in the Netherlands and what has already happened in Sri Lanka. We're going to tie it all together. I'm here joined by my co-host, Charlie from cultivatecrypto.com. What's up, Charlie?
Yeah, it's going good over here. So, I'm excited about this topic. It's going to be interesting. There's several people in our audience who are in the Netherlands, some in Germany and other areas that have been experiencing some of these protests. And once we get into that topic, we'll talk about it more. But it is interesting how crypto's playing a role in that, movement, I guess you could say, or that those protests in general, because they took a little bit of a page from the Canadian truckers, just being like, okay, if you're going to freeze our money, we're going to control our own money. And so they go right to Bitcoin, right to cryptocurrency. So that's good to see. So we'll talk about that a little bit more once we get to it.
Yeah, we got a lot going on here, and we're going to cover it all here on the show. First things first, you maybe have noticed that there has been quite the price rally with Ethereum and Bitcoin. So what we're going to do, we have a couple events coming up as well. The Federal Reserve, the most loved organization on the planet, is going to have their meeting next week. All this shit, I've been realizing, Charlie. Are you familiar with ESG?
Yeah, of course.
Do you know who writes the code for ESG?
You mean ESG in terms of the environmental movement?
Mm-hmm. Like, environmental, social governance.
Well, right. But what do you mean by the code?
Like, who determines the criteria for the ESG score?
I'd assume either like the IMF or the WEF or something.
Think more evil.
The Fed themselves?
No. Even more evil than the Fed.
Well, I'd have to go to the Bank of International Settlements, but I'm pretty sure it's not them.
Even more evil than those cocksuckers.
All right. Christine Lagarde, just her.
BlackRock.
No way. There we go. All right. We're starting to connect some dots here. Some things we can say, some things we can't.
Dude, I found that out earlier this week, and I almost had a heart attack when I figured that out. And I was like, now it all makes sense. It all makes total sense. When the Dutch farmers were doing some graffiti on some stuff that they were striking on, they were also saying, like, they're like, who's responsible for this? The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, Schwab, Gates, and a couple more, bro. But who's Bill Cooper? I don't know who Bill Cooper is.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing about it in the Netherlands is there's been some news that BlackRock, over the last year or so has been buying a lot of real estate, specifically in Amsterdam. And now, well, once we get into the topic of the protests and everything, we'll see how they're trying to take land from the farmers by force to some, to as much extent as they can. I mean, it's a land takeover, right? It's like, give me the land, give me the, housing, give me everything, essentially, is what it looks like these organizations are trying to do in certain countries. And it's not making some people happy.
Yeah. It's wild. I was reading too, going back to BlackRock, recently these last couple of years, how Netflix kind of went like super woke with that like really sick French movie, like the preteen girls entering a twerking contest, like defying the Muslim faith. All that shit was tied to BlackRock pushing that shit onto Netflix. And I personally think BlackRock like just saw Netflix flying in. They're like, you know what? Let's fucking make them super woke and like short the shit out of their stock and fucking make a gun push.
Probably.
BlackRock is evil like that, dude. What's his name? Larry Fink, right? Is he the head of
Yep.
Larry Fink?
Yeah, I'd have to go and double check the exact name, but I'm pretty sure that sounds right.
I'm
And
pretty sure it's him. Yeah.
yeah, there's somebody in the chat that's like saying, "What's BlackRock?" Basically, a massive bank that has trillions and trillions of dollars that pretty much owns a little bit of everything that you know. Interesting.
If you do a deep dive on BlackRock, it's like terrifying, bro.
Hmm.
It's
A lot
fucking
of
terrifying.
yeah. You can't get to that spot where you're basically controlling a lot of the financial world without getting your hands dirty. That I can tell you that much.
At that point, like you just have so much money, you're just like it's impossible to not become evil. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like it's insane. But anyways, we're gonna tie all that together. Charlie, how about we just talk about what's going on with Bitcoin and Ethereum? Because I think some people may have some hopium, and we're really well, we gotta let you guys know that's not hopium, that's copium. Charlie is gonna explain why now is a risky time to buy in our professional, not financial advice opinions. You'll cover this more in the crypto mindset course, but go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, of course, of course. We can just take a quick look basically at a few things going on in the market, and then we'll take a look at a few things going on. So this is the first, well, here, let's go with this. All right. So the first thing to pay attention to, obviously, is the CPI, as well as the Fed meeting where they talk about increasing interest rates. These two schedules are some of the more important schedules to pay attention to. The CPI itself, right here, came out on July 13th. Right, we had some downtrend going into that. So we'll look at these past 3 dates of CPI, basically date consumer price index. What do you call it? Just release dates. So we'll watch basically the increase of reported inflation. The next one is on August 10th. But I would say, the last one on July 13th was a little bit more of an important one. Obviously here, I think I gotta do
Sign up. Just click continue without supporting in the bottom left. No. Oh, you're just ruining the show now.
There we go. All we need is the headline. So inflation rose from 8.6 to 9.1. There we go.
Bottom left corner, that continue without supporting. Bottom left corner of below the continue box.
Oh, right here.
Yes. IQ level 700. Go ahead.
There we go. But anyways, we got that increase in inflation, right? So therefore, people were worried about it. And that was on the 13th. If we go and take a look at Bitcoin's price, and we'll talk about this in a little bit. But if we go over to Bitcoin's price on July 13th, the 13th was this green candle here. We had about 5 red candles leading into it. And we lost about, in terms of peak to trough, about 15% before this basically bounce up here in price. Right. So things are basically looking, pretty good there right now on Bitcoin. And then the next date here is July 26th, which is over here in the Fed meeting, July 26th and 27th. So by the 27th, we will know essentially how next the big rate hike is going to be. So whether it's, 75 basis points, 100, 125 basis points for the interest rate hike. Right, that should be negative going into those dates, which is the 26th and 27th. So if we take a look here, the 26th and 27th, right, that's not too far away here. It's about a week away or a little bit less. And so this rally that we currently have going, the good part about it, right, is it did break this range that Bitcoin has been in just for the last, couple of, basically the last month or so, right? You can put a line here for this top of this range, right? You could also see that the bottoms had been increasing as well. So that was kind of nice to get a breakout here. And Bitcoin, in terms of the daily chart, right, sitting above that 50-day moving average. So a couple days ago when we were looking at it, I expected basically a price increase. By how much is anybody's guess here. Then sometime later this week or going into the weekend, definitely by next Monday, I believe we'll start getting some negative price action here coming into that 26th and 27th. And the main thing is, right, can Bitcoin hold above this area here, which basically is the midpoint of its range that it had been around, which is about 20,500. Right now, the middle Bollinger Band's around 20,900 or 850 right here, this little red line. So essentially, as long as Bitcoin stays above 21,000 on a dump, right, it'll have enough strength to continue basically an upwards move going into the end of the month, going into August. And now the interesting thing about the timing right now is that there's kind of a few scenarios we can have with the 60-day cycles. We've talked about 3 of them in my episode yesterday, the main 3 possibilities with the 60-day cycles. And essentially, we had what we would consider here a left translated, meaning the high was before day 30, therefore it was bearish. But this was actually a 37-day cycle. Now, you could also argue that there's a time-based low based on the daily close around, I think it was July 3rd, right? So we will, by the next 20 days or so of price action on the 60-day cycles, we'll have basically a better idea of what type of, where the actual cycle low we should be counting from is, but the actual price-based cycle low is here. Now, the interesting thing about a 37-day cycle low essentially is that the only time we've ever had a cycle low before day 40 has been on capitulation lows, meaning a low that we capitulated on after a pretty big price decline. And then after that, for several weeks and sometimes several months, that acts as like a local low. So essentially, if this stays as a local low, then what it's saying is we're already on day 32 of the 60-day cycle and making brand new highs. What does that mean? Because the midpoint of the cycle would be here on day 30. That means if we're making new highs past day 30, then generally speaking, Bitcoin tends to continue up in this type of uptrend until about day 45 of the 60-day cycle, which would be here on August 2nd, to as far as day 55 of the 60-day cycle for a high, which would be August 12th. So that would give us basically, that first 10 to 12 days of August as a point to look to take profit and then see what happens. But that relies on Bitcoin basically kind of having enough upside here in the next day or two, so that when the interest rate numbers come out and we expect them to be higher, right, as high as maybe 100 basis points, that should freak out the market. But if the market does hold, right, then we can have that upwards price action. Now, the alternate scenario, right, the bearish scenario is that we come up a little bit further here on the price increase, maybe like just below that previous cycle low, right, maybe below 25K. And then we start rolling over into the Fed meeting, but this area of the 20-day moving average does not hold, right? Or even this 20K area does not hold. If that happens, right, we continue lower here and we make a new low, let's say going into early July, then essentially what that would mean is that this is actually a lengthened cycle of like about 80 days, right? Just as an example, going into like July 31st. And then, so I'll put, make this fancy and color coded with my crayons. And then, from there, we'd have actually, that'd be the easiest buy opportunity in my opinion, because then we'd start at least getting about 1 to 2 weeks of upwards price action from there. So what I personally would like to happen is that the price rolls down, breaks through support levels of 20, 21K, comes down to like 17, 16K, get a really nice buy here at the early part of August, end of July, and then we get some nice increase from there, and then we kind of just wait and see what the market does. But it doesn't seem like that scenario is the most likely right now. It does seem like we're pumping up high enough that we may have these higher areas as support, and if so, then that will be the accumulation area. And then, of course, the most important thing, so let's say that scenario does play out. We do get a high here on like day 55 or something like this, maybe like August 10th here at, let's say, 26K or something. And then we come down to a cycle low, right? And we hold that support area again on a cycle low. So we just kind of chop above that, let's say 22, 23K area. Then the real, test will be that next 60-day cycle, which would be, in terms of time, roughly speaking, that would go from about August 17th towards middle of September. And of course, we wouldn't know if that next cycle is going to be a bearish or bullish cycle, just from where we're at now. But if it does continue to stay bullish, right, that could bring us into mid to late September before you start seeing like significant declines again. So basically the thing to pay attention to is the Fed meeting coming here on July 26th and 27th, and then the 1 or 2 days afterwards, see where the price is on Bitcoin. And of course, Ethereum as well. Ethereum basically has to do the same thing. Ethereum does have a little bit more going for it in the fact that it's higher above its price range. But I don't see Ethereum going past $2,000 here. I think it's likely to get rejected by this 100-day moving average at like 1900 or so. But it is possible to barely take that area potentially. But that would be more likely in the early part of August. Rather than the late part of July. So from, like I said before, probably from this weekend, let's say the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, we start seeing some discount buy opportunities. And then by the 27th, 28th, we should know, right? Basically, should we buy or should we wait for a lower low? Which two of the scenarios we're going to have. So that's the main thing to look at there on Bitcoin and Ethereum's price.
And then I think you said Ethereum was also tied to some announcements.
Correct. So actually Ethereum, the interesting part about this move, right? Because Bitcoin was just here on the 18th, well below this area that it needed to break out from. Whereas Ethereum here on the 18th was already having this GigaChad green candle, right? So Ethereum basically started taking the lead here for, the time being. I don't think it'll last too long. Before we kind of come down here into the Fed meeting. But if we just take a look at this tweet here, basically the timeline for the merge, right, was released basically over the end of last week, early this week. And the talk about that basically has gotten people pretty bullish on Ethereum. So I'll just read the tweet here. This merge timeline isn't final, but it's extremely exciting to see it coming together. Please regard this as a planning timeline and look out for official announcements. So they have these different points in time where you can see small updates leading up to the merge. So you got the Prater Bellatrix on the 8th of August, and you have another one on the 11th, and so on and so forth until you get September 19th there, which says the merge 2 weeks later. So they're basically saying that the merge should happen on September 19th, assuming that all of these updates go as planned. And I don't expect most of these updates to go as planned. Usually Ethereum, they're usually pretty loose. But just having that information out there the last few days essentially started getting Ethereum pretty bullish. And then as soon as the week began, basically as soon as the new weekly candle began, it had more buying pressure on Ethereum. Ethereum's kind of just sitting here now waiting to see if Bitcoin will follow. Bitcoin has followed off of that news. And then, so it's like a little bit of positive news just before, you get hit with the Fed interest rate hikes. And then we just see kind of how the dust settles after that.
So we got a couple, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 more Fed meetings this year, right?
Yeah, on there. So we have September is the next one, late September. Right. So I'd expect the one in late September to actually have a pretty significant effect.
Sorry, is not the next one in July?
No. The next one that we're talking about for this round, is July. But the one basically after we're done with this, because we're pretty close to it already. Like I said, the CPI numbers really started coming down the prices started coming down into the CPI numbers about 5 days in advance. So I expect relatively the same thing with leading into the Fed numbers. I think also right now you have everybody and their mother leaning in one direction, right? Mm-hmm. So that does get the market makers interested in basically liquidating shorts, getting people, out of their short positions, push the market a little long too.
So we got 4 more meetings. What do you think? Do you think they're going to hike rates all the way to the end of the year?
That's I think you could easily say yes and probably be right at the end of the year. Personally, I think at some point they will stop. My two candidates for them stopping would be November or December if it's going to happen. I would expect September to be a hike as well, actually. So yeah, I think the one in September should be one. September and October probably will be the two that let us know where everything's kind of heading in Q4. Or sorry, September and November, because it's early November, not late October. So, but yeah, I mean, we kind of just wait and see on that. They want to, be aggressive, but there's already a lot of people basically saying like, Jerome Powell is not doing his job correctly. And there's a lot of people already wanting them to turn back on the money printers, not always for the best reasons, of course, but yeah.
How are they saying he's not doing his job? I mean, he's slowing down the velocity of money. Is that not his fucking job to control inflation as much as they can?
Well, yeah, most of the people who are saying those things are just for political reasons, right? Then probably for different reasons that they have people paying them for, right? They might want to try to sway it one way or another. So,
the greatest trader of all time, Nancy Pelosi, does she want those? Does she want those money printers back on? I don't know.
Hey, maybe she's making a killing shorting. I don't know, or her husband, technically, right?
Yeah, bro. What a criminal bitch, bro. How the fuck is that even possible? Her husband, didn't he get off with I think he got off with the DUI too.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's actually something I was looking at recently. They were basically going to introduce a new law specifically for her to not allow spouses as well to have stocks related to Congress people. So, yeah.
That bitch is criminal, bro.
Yeah. What? Yeah.
It just blows my mind how they're able to fucking get away with this shit. I mean,
they get away with it until it becomes so obvious that they need to like basically tamp it down, but then they'll find another way.
Oh man. What are we gonna do, Charlie? What are we gonna do? We just gotta survive.
Yeah, I think let's live off the grid of some sort and buy Bitcoin, hodl, and make some goddamn money.
Bunch of goddamn criminals, man. All of them. Well, hey, it is what it is, right? You just got to play the hand that was dealt to you. But I think the angst is building amongst the people globally.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, people didn't know this shit 10 years ago.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Justin S. in the chat says it perfectly. Rules for me, but not for thee.
Yep, 110%.
How is this bitch still alive?
Hey man, if you scam your way to a couple $100 million, you can pay for some nice healthcare, pay for some nice bodyguards. I don't know,
adrenochrome,
whatever
that's
it
where
is.
It's at. All right, guys. So what we're going to talk about now. All right, we're going to go into a quick. We have a video here by Al Jazeera. Okay, it's by the news. It's the premier news organization for the nation of Qatar, and it's a 25-minute video explaining exactly what's going on with the Dutch farmer strike. Now, if you're watching us, you are a guy that is globally minded, and you're keeping an eye on what's going on with the geopolitics of the world, how it's all connected, especially in the money game, right? Right now, if you're watching us, you're not the normie that's going to come into the next bull market and lose all their money as well, right? We're talking to the people who want to get educated right now. So on the previous episode, when we were talking about Sri Lanka, the government of Sri Lanka, right, was telling people, like, we need to reduce all of the fertilizer in the nation to just organic stuff, right? Because of the green agenda. It really wasn't about a green agenda. They wanted to save the money on the gasoline needed for the fertilizer. This caused 50% of the nation's rice crops to die. This forced the price of rice up 94%. It caused a bunch of problems for everybody. Sprinkle in the pandemic, losing the tourism industry, which is more than 1/5 of the GDP of the nation. And there was just tons and tons and tons of chaos that all came from people wanting this new Green Deal. We gotta save the planet, right? So, what's happening now? The government is of the Netherlands is requiring the farmers to stop farming in a particular way in order to reduce the amount of nitrogen they put out into the atmosphere because apparently it's killing everybody and it's not about this. And if these farmers go about doing what the government wants them to do, their livelihood will be shut down, food crops are going to be lost, and the nation is going to basically devolve into instability.
Yeah,
So the farmers, oh, go ahead, Charlie.
I was just going to say it's basically a mandate that they know is impossible to meet for the farmers, so that once they basically have to go out of business, who's going to scoop it up? Well, we got somebody named BlackRock here with some pretty deep pockets. You know, they can liquidate some farmers.
They can, and they will. And this is just the beginning. So what's happening right now is they have this situation here where they're going to fucking it's if they follow through with this, people are going to starve. Shit's just going to get worse. Right? The world is still like hobbling along after all the unnecessary lockdowns instituted by the governments for a virus that literally has less than a 1% chance of killing you. Mandatory vaccines, just endless amount of mindless fucking like 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 dictators just out there telling you, we had Gavin Newsom in California, the most draconian lockdowns in the United States, telling people, oh, you got to go ahead, you got to go and you got to lock down, you got to lock down. Meanwhile, he's out there partying. Boris Johnson, you got to lock down, he's out there partying, right? It's all Obama is telling you got to lock down, you got the vaccine, but he's having private parties with like Beyonce and Jay-Z and shit going there. So you're starting to see more and more cracks in the system. And I don't know about you, Charlie, but I don't know. I think more and more people, I think the normies that didn't even want to be woken up are starting to get woke up as well.
Yep.
I think there's growing dissent. There's more and more angry people waking up towards the incompetence of these governments. And this all ties into the book you constantly recommend to the guys out there watching us, The Sovereign Individual.
Yeah.
I think I'll go. Let me make one more point, then I'll let you go.
Sure.
In addition to that, there's another book. I forget the name. I think if it's either The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles or Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I forget which one it was, but they're like, we understand.
Shut up and take my money.
Thanks, James Miller, for the $9.99. I'll read it in a second. But they said, like, don't get too upset with the governments and organizations that are fucking everything up nowadays. They got us to where we are, and eventually they will fade away. And I think the same tone is in The Sovereign Individual, correct?
Yeah. Basically, in The Sovereign Individual, what they say, right, is like, without going through like the entire history of it, the main thing is we're going from an industrial age to the information age, right? And when you go from one age to another, you're not necessarily handled to equip as a society, everything in that new age, right? And so what's one of the things that was a benefit in the industrial age was having large government, essentially protecting your stuff that you're building, right? And the bigger the government, basically, the more success a country had. But now we're kind of in the opposite scenario where in the digital age, sovereignty, right? Self-sovereignty, individual sovereignty, country sovereignty, national sovereignty, all those things matter much more to, long-term wealth, basically, for nations, right? And so you do get, what I see this stuff happening in these different countries for land grabs and different things, political instability in certain countries like Sri Lanka, right? What's Sri Lanka for, right? Divvied up among the Indians and the Chinese, right? Then if Pakistan has the same issue, or if the Netherlands has the same issue, or if El Salvador has the same issue, because Some of the times they push them over the edge, some of the times they don't. Then you're just going to get these, you're going to get these nations that are going to try to take what they can during this type of shift. But basically what the book says is bureaucracy will be so invasive in everything that eventually, like you said, the governments kind of collapse on themselves. People will literally stop paying taxes on their own terms because in the book, well, and this specifically is in the book, because of cryptocurrency, which is absolutely great. And that sounds crazy now, but this book was written in 1997 before cryptocurrency was even a thing, right? And so pretty interesting take on it and everything. But yeah, I just see kind of the people who are going to be on the right side of kind of how finance is changing this decade will be the people who take on risk, who take on responsibility, who are willing to be their own bank, have their own self-sovereignty, and then, take care of their situation from there. Because I think so many people are still in that nation mindset, right? That patriotic mindset. And the governments and the propaganda gets us all, thinking in that direction, so that we basically think about the group of the whole instead of the individual. And that's just not going to be a way to operate these days. If you trust your government, if you trust the banks to take care of all your wealth, essentially, then you're at the whims of what they want. And this is just an example of what they want, which is to take everything and leave you with nothing, and you'll be happy. And that's not even a joke. Like, a lot of people take that phrase as like, oh, haha, until it happens.
Yeah. It's, I mean, I think that the intrusiveness of the government is already pretty fucking insane, dude.
Yep.
The fact that you and I, as American citizens, have to pay taxes and we live here in Japan is just fucking asinine, to say the least. To say the absolutely least. Like, how does it make any logical sense? I didn't receive this fucking education that I have to run this business from any United States government or anything along
Right.
those lines.
They
Why?
do it because they can.
Right, I know. And then that's the thing, like, that's why I've been looking into renouncing my citizenship and looking into options, because now there are options available. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that's really interesting about the sovereign individual with those options is basically the book says, right, the government devolves into a mob, like a glorified mob, which, taxes
Mhm.
basically are, right? And different things. And then here's the other kicker, right, which is interesting, is then organized crime basically comes back with a pretty good vengeance while the government basically collapses, or just falls into disorder by comparison. And then, you have to basically come up with a new form of government that's more effective before basically that kind of lawlessness, you could say, to some extent. It's not like quite crazy. It's not like Gotham City or anything like that, but like just in terms of like the government basically losing its grip. It can be a good thing if you take advantage of it properly, but also there's going to be some negative repercussions that I think people probably aren't prepared for.
Yeah. I don't know. It just sickens me.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you got it. Yeah,
I don't know. I just think the only way we're gonna beat it is, quite frankly, like, because there's not gonna be some large tax reform, because the whole, I mean, the whole money game's a scam. You know what I mean?
yep,
I mean,
big old pyramid scheme.
and you know what it's really funding? Like, the reality is, the taxpayer dollars is shit. It's funding fucking a crack smoking, prostitute using son of a president. Like, literally, like, wiring the guy money, wiring him 75 grand, wiring him 20 grand, and then reading the text messages, daddy, need some money, and then correlating the text messages between him talking to his crack dealer and then him talking to his fucking Russian pimp, and
Just a
her
day in the
fleecing
life.
him, and then we're hardworking, non-crack smoking citizens, and we got to pay all these taxes while this, like,
Yep.
I don't know, man. I do feel like a boiling point is reaching And I think that's why they constantly are using a lot of social media propaganda in America to divide people. Like people say, like, "Oh, Donald
Yes.
Trump divided us. Donald Trump divided us." No, it was the fucking media going 24/7, 365,
Yep.
just shit talking the man and tearing this nation apart, making, and then, oh, look, white people are the enemy. Oh, look at those black people destroying buildings and Black Lives Matter. Oh, look at those Mexicans coming south of the border. Like everybody hate each other. Everybody hate each other. Men hate women. Blacks hate Spanish. Spanish hate blacks. Whites and blacks hate each other. Everybody hate each other. Just don't look up and realize the government is fucking you in the ass
Yep.
and ruining your life. And you know, it's just, but how long can that keep that going? You know what I mean? Because they have to keep this lie. They just have to keep shoving lies down the tunnel. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, they kept COVID going for 2 full years, basically.
Still going, dude. Okay,
Well,
so
yeah,
Ireland,
exactly.
Ireland's bringing back mask in the fall, right? As they do,
Mm.
Irish. And then San Diego, KK in the chat just said San Diego's bringing back mask mandates. Like the reason the vaccine mandates stopped is because everybody stood up and fought against them. If you want masks to stop in your country, stop wearing them, stop
Yeah,
complying,
pretty simple.
you know. And people are going to start waking up. Real quick, James Miller 998 super chat. I'm not eating bugs, living in a pod. Great, thank you. Millionaire says it perfectly right here. Divide and conquer. That's what they want. Because I mean, and I just don't think this is sustainable. Do you know how much you could buy a 3D printer for, Charlie?
$1,000.
Bro, $167.
Hey, I may get one. That sounds pretty simple.
You could 3D print a lot of parts.
Oh yeah.
You
Probably
know,
make a better. You'd make a better situation than the guy in Japan here,
oh,
with his
that's too
Tokyo
soon.
hands. But
But I do feel like there is a silent boiling under the skin of a lot of people. Like I think people are like ready. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't know, man. Yeah, Pyramid Scheme says the government is the devil. They want to tax us for solar power in Africa, tax us for using the sun. You know what I mean? But anyways, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into details. Um, we're gonna go into details of this situation here with the Dutch farmers, and we really want to educate you guys on what's happening and study how these people are revolting. This is why, you know, this is another reason why governments like want open borders, and they want, they're like, oh, we can, like, are you brown and you white and you're black, like we can all live in harmony. And the reality is, like, we cannot, and it's not a bad thing. Like cultures clash, right? People like Indians love Indian people and Pakistanis love Pakistani, and Indians and Pakistanis, they fucking hate each other. All right, it just is what it is. We're all different people. I'm not saying one race is superior than the other. But like for me, like when I went down to South America, I was like, everybody fucking loves each other down here. Like, no, Colombians hate the Venezuelans hate the Argentinians. Everybody's like,
it's
why is Chile a country?
it's kind of like it's like a sports mentality, right? Like
Mhm.
if you go and look at different sports teams, why do we hate Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers? Well, just because they're a rival. They're in the same division. They're relatively close, right? It's the same thing with a lot of countries. Just there's a lot more history behind it, right? And some of that history makes that kind of rivalry a little bit more edgy or not. But just generally speaking, it's that mentality that humans have. I don't know. I think it's hardwired in us at some point through evolution of just like, you know, warring with people who are relatively near to you, right, in order to protect your area. Like it's kind of an odd little phenomenon, right, that humans have. And like when we can't do it basically, in actual war, we see people doing it through sports and different types of competition, in the corporate world, all sorts of different ways that people try to fill that kind of, I wouldn't say biological need, but more like psychological need of how humans interact with each other. So
Yeah,
I mean, you
and
see
then
it in crypto too, all the infighting.
right, the coin superiors and all this stuff. But I want
Yeah.
to go back to my point. The reason is, I think, with Amsterdam here, right, the Dutch Netherlands, excuse me, that they are a pretty like pretty like I'm not entirely sure, but I think I'm right. Like they're pretty like majority of the country are people from the Netherlands. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I
when
mean,
you
yeah,
have
I know Germany has like some what do you call it? Um some people, I was gonna say imports. Some people who've emigrated into Germany and stuff like that. I think Netherlands, especially in Amsterdam too, but
Mhm.
not near, I don't, maybe not as nearly to the extent that Germany has it.
Right. And so the thing is, when these people are of one nation, of one race, and of one language, they can come together, and they typically do come together and fucking turn against the government a lot more because they're like, yo, we're the culture, we run this shit, you know. Even those fucking saps up in France, when all that shit was going down, they're like, fuck it, we're French, we're revolting. You know what I mean?
Mm,
The Italians as well, they all got together. They're like, fuck this shit, like fuck this government. We're not dealing with this garbage. You know, because they had like QR codes at one point in France to like if you didn't have the vaccine, you couldn't go in the supermarket. And you know, these people get together and they revolt. But like in America, when everybody just hates each other, like, you know, they're like, oh, you are you black, you Democrat, you Republican, whatever. You can't organize, you can't fucking, you know,
yeah,
turn the tables.
that was like one of my biggest, gripes about going back to the States is like everybody wants to argue with each other like all the
Dude,
time.
it's
So annoying.
it's annoying as fuck, dude. Wait until you go back. Wait until you go back.
I know it's gotten worse. Like
It's
it's like progressively gotten worse ever since 9/11. To be honest, right?
you know,
You start having like reasons to divide people essentially, and then yeah, it just picks up in intensity throughout the last few years.
but this is beautiful to see because actually the Netherlands is a nation of millions and only 40,000 people are revolting. It's not
Mm.
that's less than 1%, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, it is still a small city worth of
Hmm.
people.
And so um that's all it takes to make a change, you know? And I think we are kind of witnessing like a global uprising in a good way. I think the governments have gotten too evil, they've gotten too comfortable, and they've gotten too, you know, fat and lazy, quite frankly. And you know, like look at that fat fuck Augustine
The Bank of
on the
Internationals.
yeah, the Bank International Settlements, you
Yeah.
know. I mean, if that guy's not like a poster for like greed, I don't know, like how do you even like I feel bad because I could lose probably like 5 pounds to look a little bit better. And that guy is just huge.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, let's go to the
Butterball,
video. He makes Butterball look like a friggin' Adonis.
like something healthy.
You know, we're gonna go to the
uh,
video here from here Al Jazeera, and we're gonna play. We're gonna give you guys breakdowns throughout, but this is a really good video, and it's 25 minutes long, but it's important, and we're gonna get going right now.
Large farmers are angry. They say plans by the government to reduce nitrogen emissions will harm their livelihood.
So that's the narrative, just so you guys know. The government says you must reduce nitrogen emissions or you're going to destroy the planet, basically. And if they do this, these farmers are going to ruin a lot of their crops and their livelihoods are going to circle the drain. But that's okay because they don't want you guys to eat the bugs. They want you to
hey,
drink.
sorry,
What's
go
that?
finish that.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's eerily similar to just at the beginning of the pandemic, right?
Hmm.
Where people were arguing, should we go into lockdowns? It's gonna hurt businesses, right? And should we let these businesses basically fail for the people's quote unquote health, right? Or which one did they choose? Well, they chose the one that basically the lie that the government told them. What happened, right? A lot of businesses went under essentially, and a lot of businesses had trouble and they had to take small business loans. Not very different here. It's like, which one do you believe, right? The business is going bankrupt and the farmers losing their land, right? Or the government who says, well, this is going to be better for the earth. Um, you know,
Trust the science, Charlie. How dare you?
how dare you?
As you left, Mother Nature dies and cries.
There we go. All right. Well, let's throw these farmers under the
Strangle
bus
that
and get
bitch.
BlackRock buying up everything already. Let's get it over with then.
Here we go.
The Netherlands is the second largest agricultural exporter. So what is this going to mean for global food supply.
Second largest agricultural exporter. Is that a coincidence?
Mm-hmm.
Ukraine was one of the largest exporters of grain on the planet as well.
Yep.
Got ourselves a little war there. Now this, I mean, all right, let's just continue before I go on a tangent again.
This is Inside Story. Hello, welcome to the program. I'm Rob Matheson. Farmers in the Netherlands are blocking roads, setting fire to haystacks, and even driving tractors through the streets of The Hague. It's all in protest against laws that regulate emissions produced by livestock, but are likely to have a major impact on the farming community and the larger economy. The Netherlands has failed to meet its emissions reduction targets, so permits for new homes and roads have not been granted since 2019 to prevent further pollution. And the government's introducing tough new rules. Its $100 billion food export industry, one of the biggest in the world, could be badly affected. And this is happening when the war in Ukraine is already putting global food supplies at risk.
Damn, I already called that shit. This is why they want you to eat the bugs, guys. That's why they want to eat. You got to eat the bugs. They already did. That fat fucker, that fat British fucker who's on late night TV in America. What's his name? I don't watch that normie shit.
James Corden.
Yeah, recently they had a celebrity on there and a celebrity chef, and they had a whole like buffet of bugs, and they was like, "Eat the bugs, guys. This bugs are delicious."
No. Was it like it? Was it in the style of like, "Hey, let's try this. It's actually good," or was it more like Joe Rogan and Fear Factor?
No, it was culinary manipulation. They're like, "Oh yeah, eat the bugs, guys. It's good." Like, "Oh look, oh my god, it's so vegan, so vegan." That fat fucker, he's not eating anything but fucking McDonald's and beef.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
We're going to bring in our guests in a moment. First, this report from Step Vassen in Nijkerk in the Netherlands.
Farmers have said they want to paralyze the entire country. They have announced that they want to block access to the main airport, Schiphol, other airports, the port in Rotterdam. The situation has been escalating between farmers' organizations, the farmers themselves, and also the government on the other side in the last couple of weeks. There have been farmers detained at certain actions. Police was involved. There has been aggression also towards the minister. And now here we are at a food distribution center, one of the 25 that are being blocked today by farmers. And let's have a look around. We see the trucks here. They were ready to go to supermarkets full of food, meat, dairy products. You can hear the cooling machine still running, but they can't go anywhere because look at the other side. There are tractors, there are trucks, there are farmers sitting here. They say, no farmers, no food. So they say, we want to let the people in the Netherlands know that the farms can't be closed because they're very essential for food production around the country. The government has announced that the farms have to cut more than 50% of their nitrogen emissions, in some areas even up to 90%. There has been research showing that the effects of nitrogen pollution on the ecosystems in the Netherlands is pretty dramatic, and the farmers also say that these figures are not correct. They say that we want a better solution. The government has announced that they want a mediator to be involved, but the farmers have said this mediator is not acceptable to us. They're sitting here, they're waiting here for maybe up to 2 days. Some of them, we've spoken to them before, have already sold their farms because they were not capable financially to run their business. You can see here slogans, if there is no farmers, there won't be food in the supermarkets. That's what they say. Some have even brought some hay, they're sitting here on it. They brought their wooden shoes. It's really a protest. They say they had no choice. We are fed up, and if you push us to the limit, this is what we're going to do. But the question, of course, remains today how the Dutch public will respond to this when there's no food or there's empty shelves in supermarkets today.
So what's the plan that's caused so much anger? Well, Dutch farmers have been told to cut nitrogen emissions to between 12 to 70%, depending.
What a range, 12 to 70%. I mean, you know, honestly, this kind of goes back to everything, man. Everything that I've been saying, bro. It seems to me, and like, okay, you know, I'm gonna preempt what I'm gonna say here with the. I mean, Charlie, our show's turning into a fucking conspiracy show. You realize this, right?
Hey, man, these governments ain't getting away with this shit. That's all I gotta say.
It would be a conspiracy if we were consistently wrong, but we're right. You know? But the thing is this, don't you notice in like everything that I'm seeing, it is all aimed towards lowering the population. Like not
and land
food.
grabs.
Yeah,
Like power
exactly.
grabs.
Land grabs, food grabs, stifling the lower class out. It just seems sinister.
Well, and
And I
also
don't
lower the middle class, grow the lower class as well.
that way you can call them out, you know what I mean?
Yeah, or at least just have less of a threat.
Man, it's pretty wild. Anyways, let's continue.
And how close they are to conservation areas. Those areas are part of what the European Union is calling Natura 2000. It's the largest coordinated network of protected areas in the world. Farmers whose land is inside natural reserves will have to cut by 90%. And those who can't do that will have one of three options.
Shut up and
Switch
take
to
my
crop
money.
farming, relocate, or quit the trade.
And it kind of goes to what you're saying. Like you weren't even really trying to make the point, but it does seem like a fucking land grab now that this is continuing to get elaborated on.
Yeah, that's all it is. Like, you know, hey, farmers, you want to keep doing business, reduce your nitrogen. Oh, you can't reduce that nitrogen to that level without going out of business. Sorry. See you later. Right. I mean, then what do they get? You know, what do you do with the leftovers? Right. Corporatize it. Like get BlackRock's big money bags in here to buy it up, you know, on the cheap, basically. So they've already been doing that in the urban area. So why not spread it throughout the rest of the country?
Yeah. And, you know, to top it off, it just seems like from as far as my memory serves, I think they've been saying like, you know, there's been a climate crisis coming since like the 1970s.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's been a lot of that talk. I think there's a lot more information debunking a lot of that stuff out there today in terms of like, you know, there's parts of global warming which are natural. There's parts that are man-made, the ones that are man-made, Like at the end of the day, it's like especially with this one in particular, right? It's like put all that to the side and just look at, you know, literally they're saying all this nitrogen is like worse for the environment than you guys doing business, essentially. Like we'd rather have you guys go to business than whatever you're doing to the environment. But these guys have been in business here for, especially in the Netherlands, right? I'm sure some of these areas have been farming for centuries. So it's like, okay, go back and literally run the numbers, right? Like ever since all this nitrogen has been introduced, what have been the side effects, right? And so like they're not even going that far to bring that information to the people as soon as they want this stuff enacted. Instead, they're just saying, oh yeah, just like you said before, trust the science and don't worry, guys. Like, yeah, it's bad for the environment. So just, you know, bow out here gracefully. It's like I don't see how they would think people would just like say okay, you know, like yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, in addition to that, right? There's a fucking sorry, I'm reading this comment. Let me read the super chat real quick. I got caught up there. We need more men like you who say the truth. The green agenda is just a big lie. Thanks to both of you. Thank you so much. What I was going to say is that, I mean, Charlie, your class of 2004, yeah?
Yeah, for high school, yeah.
Me too. Remember when Al Gore was like, "The world is ending. The world is ending."
Yeah, of
like,
course.
You know,
we still here.
Yeah, it's you know, it's freaking insane. Wes says this is MLJ speaking, or Alex Jones. That's a compliment. Let's continue, guys. And again, like we said, guys, just hold us accountable. We always tell you hold us accountable, and we're not trying to make we're not trying to stir the pot unnecessarily, but we're just telling you, pay attention to what's happening. There is something happening. Don't be afraid. Be educated. Understand what's going on, and then see how you can use this situation to benefit yourselves financially.
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring in our guests. They're all joining us from the Netherlands. In Zeewolde, we have Jeroen van Manen. He's a dairy farmer and a protest organizer. In Amsterdam, Natasha Ollerman is a food and agriculture expert at the Worldwide Fund for Nature Netherlands. And in Gouten, Theo Mandersloot is a mediator between producers and buyers at Agracom. He's also a member of Agracti, one of the largest farmers' action groups in the Netherlands. A very warm welcome to you all. Thank you very much indeed for being with us. Natasha, I want to start with you. This is about nitrogen and ammonia at its heart. Why are they thought to be so bad?
Well, ammonia and nitrogen specifically has a huge impact on biodiversity, especially in nature areas. And unfortunately, the Dutch agricultural sector is one of the major contributions to nitrogen emissions affecting biodiversity. In the Netherlands, we are facing a biodiversity crisis. And this is because of decades of government looking away. And finally, the government has made a decision to do something about it. And this is causing a major disruption because farmers weren't aware that they needed to change. But basically, this is not a surprise. It has been going on for decades. And now there's finally an opportunity to make this change and to have the budget to be to enable farmers to actually transition to a more sustainable, nature-friendly way of producing food.
A nature-friendly way of sustaining foods, just like they wanted to do in the fucking nation of Sri Lanka. Biodiversity. I'm sorry, but this may sound fucking like Cro-Magnon man of me, but anytime I hear that word diversity, I'm like, all right, what's the agenda? Well, like, what's going on here? Like,
yeah, it's a nice word that they throw out there because it just gets the warm fuzzy feelings inside going, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jerome, you're shaking your head there. Is this about nitrogen and pollution, or is there something else going on here?
No, well, we have a few different problems, but the main cause of this all is because some left-wing parties in the Dutch government want to have a reduction of the Dutch national herd, at least by 30%. Well, they wanted to have 50%, but that's the main cause of all. And when we look into the nature, the point like Natasha Ullemans was telling you about, reports, all of them say over the last few years, 85% of Dutch nature is in perfect condition. Of the 15% of the nature which...
I mean, for me, just my street smarts, this looks like a man who's out there actually working in the fields, knows the shit. This looks like some bitch who thinks she knows something from reading out of a goddamn...
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
I'm gonna I put captions on because his accent is a little heavy. I'm gonna rewind it for you guys at home, but just one more time, take a look. I'll put the captions on because he had, for some people, it might be hard to understand him, but here we go. They're saying this is about nitrogen pollution, but listen to it.
No, well, we have a few different problems, but the main cause of this all is because some left-wing parties in the Dutch government want to have a reduction of the Dutch national herd, at least by 30%. Well, they wanted to have 50%, but that's the main cause of all. And when we look into the nature, the point like Natasha Ullemans was telling you about, reports, all of them say over the last few years, 85% of Dutch nature is in perfect condition. Of the 15% of the nature which is not in good condition, there are about 1,500 ways to improve the nature, and about 50% of these 1,500 ways is not even done yet in the Netherlands. And nitrogen pollution is only one of them. So that's what the Dutch farmers are saying. When some bit of nature, the 15%, needs to be improved, that's okay. But then we use all the different ways you can do to improve nature. And nitrogen pollution is only one of them. So in this case, and what we also say as agriculture sector, over the last 30 years, we already reduced almost 70% as agriculture sector. So on this point, none other sector did a reduction like agriculture did over the last 30 years.
Natasha, I know you want to come in, but I do want to bring in Theo Mandersloot here. The Dutch government, as Natasha was explaining, has brought together some sort of attempt at a solution, and yet it seems to be constantly rejected by the farmers. Why are none of these solutions acceptable?
The Dutch government is only working in one way. We as the farmers organization in the Netherlands offered the Dutch government, I think, almost thousands of suggestions to do something, but to do something to reduce nitrogen and this kind of to help the nature, but. It is not about the nitrogen, it's about rearranging the public space in the Netherlands. And this is the only reason why the government is not speaking with farmers, but over farmers, and not is taking the handshake what the farmers wants to give to the government, because the farmers give a lot of suggestions about lowering nitrogen, trying to make the nature better, to help the environment, to do something with the water qualities and everything more. And the Dutch government just is telling something about the juridical goals, and nothing about innovation and possibility solutions.
So it seems that also that it's the leftist government in the Netherlands that is saying, "Oh, we need to target this new green agenda."
Right. Well, and the one thing that's kind of interesting is apparently the Dutch royal family. I don't know, all the details in terms of the politics within the Netherlands, but apparently the Dutch royal family is involved with the WEF, right?
There it is.
And here's kind of the crazy thing, right? Is there's some suspicions or rumors basically that the Dutch royal family, they're with the WEF. A lot of the European Union basically wants to let the WEF kind of enact, their vision here. And simply by just being like, hey, here's our land, here's our farmland, stuff like this. It's kind of similar to what Japan did in the 90s, essentially, like the late 80s going to the 90s. They forced their own country into a recession. They sold off a lot of land to foreign entities. And the only reason why they did that was to weaken their economy, because essentially they had created the yen as too strong. And then basically, in order to become part of the Bank of International Settlements, in order to join, the world's central bank and become basically some of the powers that control money in the world, they did that. They basically, they sold off a lot of land to foreign entities, and they, basically pushed their own country down for quite a bit to sell out to the Bank of International Settlements. So it's kind of the same thing here with the Dutch royal family, specifically looking like it wants to sell out to the WEF and basically allow them to run their vision throughout parts of Europe. And there's other European countries that, are rumored to be doing the same thing. So there's some back office deals going on for sure.
John Collins says, common sense, nitrogen accounts for over 70% of the Earth's atmosphere. This is not about nitrogen. And then Ned here says, having visited the Netherlands, this is stupid. All that land the politicians want is just on the outskirts of cities and coastline. Only high value real estate locations. I mean, yeah, and these guys here are saying that too. Like, they've offered multiple solutions. The government is kind of just like, nope, fingers in the ears. I don't want to listen. La la la. Do what we say, or we take the land. And they're like, okay, you want to take the land? Well, we're gonna spray down your buildings with shit water and protests. And I honestly, I'm telling you, and I'm not wrong. I'm definitely right on this. Okay. what the coronavirus did, it taught people how to organize and riot in modern times. And these are not going away. The government's going to keep pushing back, and the people are going to keep pushing back, and the government's going to bow down. Did they the vax mandate in Canada was lifted, right? Like the truckers won.
I can't remember 100%, but I mean they dug their heels in so deep, yeah, that things had to change essentially, right? So you get enough, basically you get enough people moving against the government, but the key is for a long enough period of time, right? And they're at least gonna affect some sort of different movement than the government would have done otherwise.
Yeah, I think we're not going to be seeing a slowdown anytime soon here in these global uprisings. I mean, just to add on to it, there was a fucking prime minister that stepped down this week again. The prime minister of Italy was just like, all right, fuck it, I'm out. Boris Johnson the other day. This is not, I mean, dude, honestly, at this point, I'm just waiting for Biden to step down because he's clearly senile.
More than clear. It's been since Dave freaking won.
Kamala takes over, and then they're like, okay, the woman's in charge, take Taiwan,
So this is the reason why we are in this way are protesting, because the government is not listening in any way to the farmers. They just taking their own way and going straight forward to reach their goals instead of looking at nature, because the farmers need nature to produce on this highest level in the world. And what at the moment is happening is that the government just telling something about nitrogen and a lot of higher levels, but the topic if this were really a problem, then they would also suggest to speak about our airports, about freight, about the barges, about freight, about traffic, and this kind of thing. But none of them are involved with some measures. Only the landscape and the farmers will be treated by our government. So this is not okay.
Nastasa, let me bring you in there, because both Jeroen and Theo are saying that that nitrogen and the impact of nitrogen and ammonia forms a small part of.
Like these are two men. I mean, look at this guy. This guy's like obviously like hardened by life, badass, And this is like a woman who's like, believed the feminist lie her whole life and has like a PhD in fucking, underwater basket weaving, the feminist theories.
Hey, underwater basket weaving is a good thing to understand.
Yeah, good for, in the Matrix, right? Anyways, let's hear what this moron has to say.
Of the situation, that in fact this is about a wider issue, that the government is actually wanting to change the land use within the country. What's your response? How do you react to that?
My response is as follows. There is no doubt that biodiversity is affected by nitrogen in the Netherlands. There are numerous reports that are indicating that. So something needs to change, and not from an ecological perspective, but also from a legal perspective. And that's why the highest court in the Netherlands ruled that nitrogen depositions in the Netherlands and emissions should reduce by 50% in 2030. So, but apart from that, I agree with the other speakers that there is more happening in the Netherlands, because we also have a water quality. We have an air quality problem. The water quality in the Netherlands is far below what is needed to comply with the Water Framework Directive in Europe. So our drinking water, our groundwater is at the moment so polluted, and agriculture is also one of the polluters of that. So apart from nitrogen affecting biodiversity, we are also talking about air pollution and water pollution. And this is also the reason, I think, why we need to have a transition of agriculture that is ticking all those boxes of things that need to change. And this major transformation of agriculture, even though it will affect farmers, it can also be seen as an opportunity to really transition a broken food system into a system that is good for nature, but also provides a future for farmers, a new future, because the system that we are in right now is a system that is broken and is not working for farmers. Every day, 5 farmers in the Netherlands stop their business because there's no future. So the current system is not working for farmers, it's not working for biodiversity, it's not working for our health, because the air quality in the Netherlands is really below level that is healthy. So I do agree with them that not only agriculture needs to change, but that we also have to look at traffic, at industries, and so on. But the fact is, and that's the thing with the nitrogen case, is that agriculture at the moment, and especially dairy farming, is contributing the most, with 60% of the national emissions is being caused by mainly the dairy sector. So that's the start of the change, but I totally agree that we have to look much broader, and that we have to look at a situation in which the current system in the Netherlands, both for food producing and the way we use our land, needs to be rearranged. And it means, especially for farmers, that a transition is needed, but that's why the government also put 35 billion euros in the budget over the next decades to help with that transition and to support that transition. And I would really, really value if farmers would come up with an offer in how they can contribute and what the price and the costs are that society also has to pay. Because I do think that this problem is not being caused by farmers, because they are also a victim of the current system, but that the farmers are the solution, and that they can help in bringing the Netherlands to a future where it's green, not only for nature, but also for us people.
I'm going to stop you there because I want to bring in Jerome. Forgive me for interrupting you, but I want to bring in Jerome.
So again, but she's saying these reports and these studies and all this stuff, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with her, but it looks like, I mean, okay, so I'm doing a little bit of research on my side here, and you know, this biodiversity, just so you guys can see, I'll just read it for the audience members. You can come to your own conclusions, but this is from the university that is supposedly producing these studies, the Wage Ningen. This is funny because like if you this is wage obviously, and the ningen is actually human in Japanese, so wage ningen. So it's basically wagey. No, I'm just joking. I guess is Wageningen University and Research. Sorry for butchering that. What is biodiversity? Biodiversity is a variety of life in a particular area. From a drop of water to an entire forest, biodiversity includes all types of plants, animals, and microorganisms, but also the enormous genetic variation within all these species and between different ecosystems, from marshes to deserts. Why is biodiversity important? Biodiversity is directly linked to major challenges over time, such as food security. We totally have food security. Climate change, no evidence that this shit's happening whatsoever. Health. I mean, we got too much food. I mean,
yeah,
that's like one of the. I think
Monsanto's definitely done its job well on that end.
Dude, high fructose corn syrup. Need I say more?
Yep,
it's in everything, dude. Almost everything we eat and most of our building materials and medicines come from biological resources. Diversity of food crops is crucial to prevent diseases and climate change from taking hold in our food system. Biodiversity is needed as a buffer against flooding, drought, and erosion for healthy soil and clean water. According to the United Nations Conventions on Biodiversity, okay, that's a red flag right there. At least 40% of the world's economy depends on biological resources. In short, without biodiversity, we cannot live. No shit. Biodiversity is the basis of our existence, but biodiversity is under enormous pressure worldwide, including the Netherlands. The pressure is due to several factors, such as fragmentation and decline of habitats of plant and animal species. So they said only 15% of the nature was damaged. 85% of nature is untouched. So I'm not entirely sure how that.
And the Netherlands has been a country that's done this type of agriculture. You know, they've even actually built out into the sea, land into the sea to some extent with how much they've changed, their biodiversity with agriculture, and still doing just fine.
The Dutch guilder was the fucking global currency,
Yeah, back in the day.
So I mean, yeah, we're just totally destroying the planet, clearly. Biodiversity is the basis of our existence, but biodiversity, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The pressure is due to several factors: fragmentation, decline of habitats of plant and animal species, climate change, desertification, over-fertilization, industrialization, urbanization, and use of pesticides. It is important to realize that biodiversity loss and climate change reinforce each other. To turn the tide, a change of thinking and action is needed. Without far-reaching action, we are heading for an unlivable planet. Oh my God.
We're all gonna die.
We're all gonna die. It's like the ice cap has been melting. It's game over. We're like, it's getting hotter, right? Even though winters are getting new lows and freezing in certain places, we're fucked. So that's basically what they're saying.
Well, and if you notice in there, just talking about, what the UN was saying and a lot of the things that woman was saying as well, what it goes back to all the time is like, we must comply with this government framework. We must comply with what the government's telling us, it needs to be done. We must comply. We must comply. We must comply. I mean, that's literally all it's about. It's all that any of this stuff that's, people have been protesting about the last couple of years has been about is like, no, we don't want to comply to your, stupid, assumptions here with basically just power grabs, right?
I'm just looking for the dirt right now. I'm trying to see who is really pulling the strings here. Sustainable development goals. Who is the one? Because all this all goes back to either Soros, a Rothschild, BlackRock, or
Well, I mean, I think it links to several of them. It links to definitely, obviously, BlackRock is a huge portion of this, right? And then the World Economic Forum, the WEF, right? It's a huge portion of this. I would say those two are probably the biggest ones.
Yeah, and it's like a species have always been going extinct in and out of like that's just not a new thing, and it's not like we're like I do believe one thing that is for sure, like it's definitely the Asians, no offense, but like they're definitely overfishing the ocean. That's no doubt. Like and China and Japan are a big part of that, right? But I mean, this kind of stuff here, I mean, are birds dying around? Like, the real industry that's killing everything is fucking fashion industry. And, we all know who's at the forefront of that. What's that?
I was just going to say, including taste. No.
Yeah.
I'm just, joking.
I mean, we all know women are just like addicted to buying shit like a bunch of fucking rabid dogs. Charlie's been wearing the same shirt on his same stream for like 2 years now, 3 years.
Hey, got 2 shirts, bro. 2, not just
2
one.
shirts. I mean, hey, you're fighting climate change. You're doing a great job.
Hey, bro, I still fart. I guess there's methane. I'm part of the problem.
But anyways, let's go back to listen to here.
Because he clearly has got very strong feelings about this. Jerome, explain something to me, because from what I've heard so far, the government seems to have an end goal of improving the environment within the Netherlands. So do the farmers. From what Theo was saying, it's intrinsic to the farmers. It's important to the farmers that nature should be sustained, that their livelihood should be sustained. Where is this breaking down? Where is the problem with this, that when you're both working towards the same end goal, if you like, you can't find some sort of common ground to be able to move forward?
But I wanted to respond on what Ms. Natasha said just right now. It's not true. It's very hypocrite also. Whatever problem you look at, if it's nitrogen pollution, if it's methane, if it's CO2 or whatever, the use of antibiotics, Dutch agriculture is champion of the world. Right now, when we focus on nitrogen pollution, we can, the law, which is now a plan from our minister, it will cause that probably about 40% of the Dutch farmers have to stop their business, and production will have to get away outside of Holland. Every country in the world is on a lower standard for nitrogen pollution, for CO2, for whatever problem. So when we get rid of Dutch farmers, other farmers in the world need to take care of the same production. We need more land use. There's more use of water. All the problems Natasha is saying, you can say something about Dutch water quality, and it always can be improved. We have innovations for that. But when you put food production to other countries in the world, standards will lower. So then in 10 years' time, the Dutch citizens are eating food which is produced on a lower standard than it's produced right now. You know, when we want to solve a problem, we have not only Holland in the world, but we need to see climate and nitrogen as a worldwide problem. And then we can improve the world by getting to Dutch standards, not only to get rid of farmers in Holland, because it's only moving the problem away out of sight, and nothing is solved. So it's ridiculous and also hypocrite.
Theo, let me ask you this, because from what if I understand Natasha correctly, the government has put money in place in order to be able to help farmers transition from livestock, this is predominantly livestock farming that we're talking about, to move from livestock farming into crop farming. It's providing money for farmers who feel that they're not able to meet the standards, so the farms will be bought out. It seems to me as though the government...
I don't even know if I should put this on the stream. I just found this. I don't know. I'll just put it up there. This is news that came up. Dutch PM apologizes over failure to protect the Jews. Sorry, guys. Okay. You know what that means. Let's continue.
Is at least putting some money towards this. Let me ask you this. What is preventing livestock farmers from making the transition from animal to crop farming?
The biggest issue is that the government has unreachable goals in their for themselves. They only speaking over farmers, not with farmers. They not interested in any innovation or in any solution. What they reached also from the agricultural sector, we are working as agricultural sector already for decades on innovation and on solutions to reduce our emissions. And what's happening now is that our government in the past pointed 162 areas of wish nature. This nature, they want to have some habitats in it, which they want to have to come, or they want to have to protect some little insects or something. So that's really nice, and we like this also as farmers. But the biggest issue is that if they using the nitrogen goals.
Okay, I found it. This is full-blown conspiracy, but just bear with me. Dutch Prime Minister, George Soros' son.
If we just empty the whole Netherlands, all farmers, all citizens, we still have a huge problem, because we have the nitrogen and the worst water quality, which is coming from the eastern part of Europe and what's flooding into the Netherlands. So we can do what we want, and we can try to do the best what we have, but it is not reachable. It's not possible. Furthermore, it sounds really nice. 35 million euros for the €1 milliard for the agricultural sector in the Netherlands, for the farmers, but this is not the truth. First of all, they don't have the money for it,
right?
And second is that they have to try to improve something and try to help the farmers with some changes. But if you look at what was happening a few weeks ago in our one week ago in our government, we had a Dutch farmer which getting money from the government for his nature goals, and the Dutch government was telling him, okay, it was very nice that you changed your farm to nature living, but this year we will end your payments for all your efforts. And so this guy was totally lost, and he doesn't know what to do, because his company's farm, he has to quit with his farm because the government is quitting to pay the money. And the biggest issue is that our government is telling that they want to pay for everything, and they want to do a lot of things, and they want to change, and they want to have change. But the farmers want also to change, but our government is not trustable, and this is the biggest issue.
Natasha,
Pause
do
it
you
right
think
there.
that
That's pretty fucking sick, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, so long, like TLDR for you guys. So he was saying, because I know some of you guys are spacing out at home. He was saying, pay attention, kids. All right, that one of the farmers complied with all of the regulations in and instituted by the Dutch Netherlands government. He changed his entire operation, and the only way he would be able to keep his operation afloat is by receiving money from the Netherlands government according to the changes they asked him to make. So like, okay, make these changes, and then we're gonna subsidize you. We're gonna give you money. He made the changes, and then they're like, oh, by the way, sorry, we're gonna stop paying you, and now you got to go out of business. Congratulations, you're fucked.
Yay. And and the other thing he said there that at the end, which I thought was pretty powerful, right, is just like literally the government is not trustable. And it's like, what are they trying to describe there? It's like basically it's like, let's try to bring this in towards socialism. Don't worry, give all the power to the government, release your land, release your gold, release your whatever, everything basically. Don't worry, we'll take care of it. Oh, we didn't take care of it with that guy, but don't worry, we'll take care of the next one. It's just like, yeah, but no. It's like it's this part of decentralization of society that we have right now, and they're just trying to further centralize it.
15 days to slow the curve. We're just gonna lock down for 15 days. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yep.
And here we are. Some places are still, look at Japan. Japan is still kind of like in this not lockdown state, but these fuckers are still wearing masks out here. Just hilarious. But hey, it is what it is. Yeah, let's just I just like the governments are the thing now, because before you could memory hole things because the internet wasn't there, but now the internet provides like forever data. Like if you did something,
source of truth.
Yeah, like when Beyonce's like, delete that picture of me from the internet. And like internet was like, oh yeah, and they memed her. They memed her into fucking eternity. It's like one of the ugliest pictures of her ever, right? Yeah, man. It's friggin'.
Well, crypto is very similar in the fact that it's a source of truth. It's an immutable source of truth,
right,
that people, basically can keep their money on, right? So, like the internet was first the way to decentralize media and, basically to get information out there that like, a lot of the WikiLeaks stuff, right, would have never gotten out, obviously, without the internet.
Remember when people would buy encyclopedias, Charlie, when we were little? Like, I got this encyclopedia set.
Got the Encyclopedia Britannica, bro. Like,
yep,
I'm gonna be smart forever. Yeah, and that was the best they could get back then, and now the internet in a way is the Library of Alexandria, right? It's just the place that people can go for the most wide variety of information. Is there bad information out there? Of course, you got to be able to sift through it. But it's the same with the blockchain, but in the sense of money, right? It's like you got to basically, once you show people, hey, here's how you can use your money absolutely for free and you control all of it, then they see what's coming down the pike with central bank digital currencies. The people who can look ahead a few steps and see through this bullshit as well, those are the people who can thrive, survive, and be self-sovereign and make a lot of money, right? It's the people who, when they hear central bank digital currency, what is that? And they're not interested in researching it at all, how it links to some of these power grabs and stuff like this, right? Those people they're the ones that are gonna suffer, unfortunately. You got to educate yourself.
Yeah. I think with this situation here, just again going back to what I was saying, like people are not so quick to forgive anymore because I believe that the government's offenses are becoming increasingly intrusive. The government will take and take and take and take until you slap their hand and say no more. You know what I mean? That's just how they are, because the government is really pimping the people because we outnumber them.
Yep.
Like literally, let's just say top elected officials in the United States, right? We almost outnumber them 1,000,000 to 1, roughly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and you also have to take into account the other people who benefit from government continuing on in a behemoth style fashion in terms of, bureaucrats, all the way to law enforcement, which ones are going to resist, which ones are not. But there's a lot of people who are employed by the government, right, who aren't necessarily elected officials, that, they don't have an incentive to try to, bring down the very thing that's basically, they're surviving on. But at some point in the future, if the government does break to some extent, it has to reshuffle and everything. Who's going to be out of a job first? Right? That guy.
Yep. The ones sucking on the teat. This I'm looking at some information about the Slovenian prime minister. Apparently he tweeted out earlier in the year 2021, he was tweeting out something about like that these people in the EU are Soros's puppets, George Soros's puppets, and the prime minister of the Dutch Netherlands was also mentioned. You know, so I mean, it's like it's almost ironic, like we sound like we're crazy, like saying this kind of friggin' quote conspiracy theory stuff, but all it does is take a little bit of digging, and it's
Some
now
coincidences just don't seem so coincidental after a while.
And look at Sri Lanka now. Like, who the fuck is gonna bail Sri Lanka out? Like, look at that mess. And it all started with what? Oh, the green agenda. Because it sounds bad if you're like, oh, what you don't like, like you ever watch Tiger King, Charlie?
Oh yeah.
And they were like talking about how Carol Baskins was pimping out all these women. She's like, well, you love baby tigers, right? You don't want to see this baby tiger die, do you? She's like, no, oh my God, that's right. Go in that cage and clean up that shit for free. And that's what the people are doing in the government. Like, oh, you don't want to destroy the planet, do you? You're not. You want to be eco-friendly, right? Like, if you ask any girl, right? You know what the fucking hilarious thing is? Like, oh, this makeup is cruelty-free, right? It's like, dude, they're fucking putting that makeup on rabbits in these fucking labs and like gassing them after and killing them. Like, they're testing this shit on rabbits and animals, but they're just like, oh, it's cruelty-free, That's just like one drop in the bucket of like a whole genocide of animals going on behind the scenes, so these girls can like put makeup on and like take pictures and sell their fucking naked photos on OnlyFans and Instagram. You know what I mean? So it's all just a joke. Like, I think, like, shout out to our buddy Miguel Dollar Cost Crypto when he said, "Life is a Ponzi." Life is a Ponzi scheme, and it's just like the people trying to do their best, and I get it. People like Charlie wearing the same 2 shirts for 4 years in a row. He's the real eco champion over here. But these governments pretending that they care about the planet and stuff is just, I don't know. It's
laughable. I mean, they're literally, like that guy right here, when you press play again, he'll say it one more time, like straight up, the farmers know that the government is simply just not trustable.
Yep. It looks like the German farmers recently have joined the leagues with them, and like they're blockading an immigration facility as well. And so the basic thing is this, right? What they're trying to say is this, that the government is trying to steal their land and basically build like FEMA camps and like low income housing and shit on them. That's what they're trying to do. That's it.
Whilst zero emissions may well be a great objective for governments around the world, this is not the right time for any government to be trying to bring in this kind of thing.
It is the right time to make a change, and I'm honestly a bit surprised by the arguments that the 2 others, Theo Manders and Jeroen van Manen, are telling us, because I obviously feel that they are still in the illusion that the Netherlands is feeding the world. The Netherlands is not feeding the world, because a lot of grains, also from the Ukrainian past, but also from Brazil, soy is coming to the Netherlands to feed animals. These are feedstock that can easily be used directly by humans to eat. So producing meat and dairy in the Netherlands in a very intensive way, which has been causing a lot of damage to nature, a lot of damage to water quality and to our air quality and our health, is not a solution for feeding the world. The Netherlands is being proud that we have the best producers, but the best producers in the Netherlands, it maybe refers to the amount of production that we are doing per hectare or per animal, but it has caused enormous societal and environmental problems. So if you take that into account, and it's
So what are these societal problems that, I mean, what are these? I mean, is Netherlands?
They
we get
point
Jack
to a lot of
Napier?
stuff without point. They point it to a lot of stuff without pointing to it. Basically, she's like saying again, trust us.
Yeah.
Right? You know, all these things are happening, and the other guys are saying the exact opposite. They're saying, you know, none of this stuff is happening, or at least not to the same level that you're saying. And also, you're not treating the farmers the same as you're, let's say, treating other areas that are also producing nitrogen, right? So it's just kind of this feedback loop of them saying, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong, right? And it's kind of going a lot of nowhere.
Where is Jack Napier? Like the one time he could prove himself to be useful to us.
There's a few Dutch people in the chat right now.
Do you remember Lars?
No.
Lars from our old job.
Oh, that Lars, yeah.
Was he from the Netherlands?
No, he was Swedish, I think.
Oh, was he Swedish? Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, there's a few Dutch people in the chat today. So yeah, if they want to put anything in there, feel free. But
Art Future MD won with a great common sense statement. I don't trust a woman who has never worked on a farm in her life to tell me about farms, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That's like going to Richard Cooper for hairstyling advice. It's just not going to work out. Like, you're going to need to have some kind of, dog in this fight. And what is this? Like, is there, what kind of societal problems are they happening? Like,
they don't say.
Yeah. Like, what is the societal problems that they're stating that it could happening? Like, are there not enough trans-vaxxed people? Like, what's exactly going on? Because I haven't seen the Netherlands in the news anytime recently about societal problems, other than recently with
except for this.
Yeah, exactly. So Lars, the moisture farmer from Tatooine, isn't that Uncle Owen? I think it was Uncle Owen, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Societal cost that it's taking, apart from all the subsidies that farmers need in order to make a living in the Netherlands. Most farmers,
the subsidies that the farmers need, that the man just said that the fucking government cut them off of. Is this woman not even paying attention?
are dependent for half their income on European subsidies to survive. So the Dutch system is broken, and this is not only me as a nature conservationist saying this. This is what our government is saying. This is what many scientists are saying. So there is a change needed, especially now with the Ukraine crisis, because we need to feed the world in such a way that we use land efficiently. And to me, it's not a legitimation that you feed animals the same crops and the same pulses that can be fed directly to humans. So I do think, especially in this situation, that we both need a rethinking of the way we are producing and the way we are consuming, and how to support that. And nature, both in the Netherlands and worldwide, and biodiversity is not a nice to have for nature and for wild animals. It's a need to have for us as humans, because we are dependent on nature. If there are no pollinators anymore, then we don't have crops to eat. If we don't have healthy soils, then we cannot produce food in the future. If we don't have healthy water streams, then we cannot have drinking water. So I do think that the Netherlands, especially because we have the most intensive farming system in the world, we are basically a wake-up call for the rest of the world to change.
Jeroen, I
I
want to
think,
bring in. I want to bring you in there because
now-
on the back of what Natasha is saying, given the fact that we are in this worldwide food crisis that is facing, and given the role that the Netherlands has been playing as one of the major exporters of food to the world, this would sound like it would be a good opportunity for the Netherlands to make the most of that and to be able to.
I really want to break in into the frame that
just
we are
very
the
quickly,
major
Natasha,
exporter.
please.
Yeah, we are not a major exporter in the world. We are importing large quantities. We are exporting large quantities. The amount of food
Natasha, I'm going to
directly
stop you there. I take your point. I want to go very briefly to Jeroen. We only have about a minute left, Jeroen. Given the fact, coming back to my original point, given the situation in the world, this would be an opportunity for the Netherlands to play a role in feeding the rest of the world. Would it not be to everybody's advantage, to the farmers, for the farmers to find a solution to this problem and quickly and get back to what they do, which is producing food? Just very briefly,
yes,
if you could
that's right. But yes, well, Dutch agriculture can teach the world a lot of good things, and I think before that. We need to have an agriculture in Holland which is big enough. You know, when there's only 10 farms left, knowledge will be gone, and we can't teach the world how to do it. We have major solutions for all problems in the world. That's why we are a world champion on every part of whatever problem you have. Dutch agriculture is needed for that. So I think we need to have a strong national agriculture sector.
Jeroen, we're going to leave it there, but thank you very much indeed to all.
So, looking at what they're saying with these statistics from a Investopedia article here, top exporters in billions, in regards to agriculture, Netherlands is number 2, followed by Germany, France, then Brazil, USA being number 1, right? So I don't know where she's getting
medal there.
Yeah, I don't know where she's getting off by saying that
they don't export.
Yeah, and she's mentioning Brazil.
Yeah, just blowing a lot of smoke. I mean, you could see after she was done talking, that one guy was just like, "Stop the BS," you know.
Yeah, exactly. United States is number 1 exporter in soybeans. Soy is the number 1 export from the United States of America. Why am I not surprised? Corn,
after corn,
corn syrup. Wheat, great. United States sending soy to the world.
All three of you, I want to thank all our guests.
That's crazy that he said there's only 10 farms in the Netherlands.
I think he was saying if you reduce it down to 10 farms, because he was saying basically they're centralizing all this, and you're going to lose all of the centuries of basically innovation that the farmers in the Netherlands have done. I mean, one of the things that the farmers or just the Netherlands in general has done, right, is reclaim a lot of sea land, like basically, make more land that they can push out into the sea in order to, cultivate more crops, all that stuff, right? And a lot of countries, right, which this is kind of the funny part, right, is like, or the irony is like, if there's some countries which are not used to, protecting land or building land out like close to the sea and still having it viable to farm, if you get global warming coming in terms of rising sea levels, those places are going to need that knowledge the most, which is kind of just the ironic bit. It's like let's destroy the place with a lot of the knowledge in terms of that particular type of thing, and then if it actually does happen down the road, then nobody's going to be able to solve those problems or just have a harder time doing so. It's just like, it's kind of, just ridiculous.
I think we're pretty much good there. Forum
video
with the $5 Canadian super chat saying it's amazing how people that never worked in a supply chain know how to work and manage a supply chain.
Yeah, I would say the comment that's a good one to add on top of this was this one here, was just, there's a shortage of critical thinking.
I don't even think it's a shortage of critical thinking. I mean,
no, I just mean in terms of people, not pushing back on this strongly enough, right? Like people listening to chicks like that person, that conservationist, right? And being like, oh yeah,
but she's bought and paid for. There's someone on the other side like, you better fucking defend that shit.
well, that's what I'm saying is like, there's the majority of the public's going to eat up what she says, hook, line, and sinker, right? Because she's the educated one, or she's the, she's the expert, blah, 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 blah. When, that comment we were just saying right there, like the two guys that know the most about the topic right there are just like rolling their eyes at, all the bullshit, basically.
It's, yeah, I mean, she did a lot of flowery language. I'm a nature conservatist. You dude, okay, yeah. You know who hates nature? Farmers. Farmers fucking hate nature. They're out there snuffing these cows, and it's just like, lady bitch, this man works in like, nature is your job when you're a farmer. Like, how does that not get any more fucking nature? So, I mean, again, it just takes time for people to wake up, I guess.
Well, the one really interesting bit about this too, right, is just going back to, if you just go back to control of money, right? What does the control of money have to do with this, right? Well, if we're talking about the World Economic Forum, the WEF, right? If we're talking about, you can talk about a bunch of different things linked to that. But, with the Dutch royal family wanting to potentially just appease the WEF and be like, okay, here's a bunch of land. Like, we're still in the club, right? Like we're the ones in control with everything still, right? As long as that keeps happening, right, you're going to keep getting just this ridiculous stuff. But when you go back to the control of the money, right, especially in Sri Lanka, like we talked about last week, is the people who are managing the money didn't manage it well, right? The central banks themselves basically created a crisis, along with the food crisis, along with the tourism crisis, along with the remittance crisis, all that stuff. So we're going to get the same. It's potentially that they're trying to set up the same thing here, which is just like, okay, weaken one of these parts and then we'll weaken others. They're coming out with the European central bank digital currency for all the EU in the next few years, right? They already have a test of it going here. I can show this on the screen. I think we showed this one a few weeks ago.
Yeah, pull it up.
But this one here, right, in terms of USDC, right? USDC, the US dollar coin, essentially is the coin that we see here. If we go over to coin market cap and we just refresh, right, USDC number 4 on the list here, right, has $54 billion basically in market cap right now. It's up there rivaling with Tether.
It's closing
right?
in. You see number 7, right?
Yeah, it was a bit lower before. And this is just like a test, right? Like the USDC, there's a lot of like Steve Mnuchin and some of his buddies were involved with this. He was the head of the treasury for a while, as well as a few other people. And so with the European central bank digital currency coming out, right, what's the next form of control after? In this case, we're talking about control of land, right? Now we're going to be talking about this control of money. Once the central bank essentially can like start giving, like they do this test run with the Euro coin here, and they actually come out with the real one, right, in a few years, then essentially everybody, all the farmers who want their money, right, are going to get it straight to their phones or their computers, from the central bank. Same with, people who are on UBI and all that stuff, right? But it goes back to the same thing. If you don't want the government to have ultimate control, if you don't want to live in a socialist, like actually going into like a socialist type of society, right, and you still want the decentralization of all these different forms of society that we currently have, then you need to start taking control of certain things. So first thing to control is the land, right, which is what they're controlling right now with these protests. They're controlling the freedom of movement. They're controlling, they if they do comply with the government and these farms go down, they're going to have a food crisis anyway. So if they stop working right now and then block off the roads and stuff like this and protest, then they're, they'll have a food crisis now too, but that'll just give them a taste of what they could be in for if they did actually stop working. But the next thing for these farmers and for people in general in a country like this is control of the money. So power and control, goes hand in hand with money. So this is a citizens thing, right? It's groups of people that need to essentially adopt cryptocurrency, adopt Bitcoin. We saw it with the Canadian truckers, right? They tried to freeze certain bank accounts related to them that were getting the GoFundMe stuff. So they started accepting Bitcoin instead, right? And same with these farmers, right? They're starting to look at cryptocurrency as a viable option, Bitcoin specifically, so that they can have control of their own money. Because at the end of the day, they do need that safety blanket that's going to, the banks aren't going to be able to go and seize it, essentially, right? They're not going to just be able to come and take it. And you can still have control of your financial sovereignty to some extent. It's not saying they're going to sell the farm and put everything in Bitcoin, right? They're just going to have that as a portion of their, rainy day funds, their long-term savings account that they're going to hold there. And so you're starting to see these different countries that get these forced, just forced forms of control, right?
Yeah. It really is forced, and like, really sorry to cut you off, but like, when you go on and you really think about it, like, the government, they have a monopoly on violence.
Yes. Yeah, they're the mob.
And when you don't do what you want to do, if you don't do what they say, like, all right, well, we're gonna fucking kill you.
Yep. I mean, look at John McAfee. I mean, 110%. Like this, it is what it is. It's just, but it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, the sovereign individual basically says, as people get more basically red pilled on controlling their own finances through peaceful means, which is cryptocurrency, right? The more people are less likely to pay taxes, the less likely people are to pay taxes, the more control the government loses, the more control the government loses, the more that the people win. But, there's always a give and take on the different things. But it's part of what's happening. It's just is what it is. And, if you're a citizen in any of these countries who might be affected, or just, a person in the world who wants to control their own stuff. And, if there's a bank that goes bankrupt, it's the same thing as Celsius. Sorry, your money is no longer existing, right? It is now ours, and it never existed in the first place to some extent, right? So yeah, if you want a trustless form of money, like, you got to get Bitcoin, got to get some Ethereum, you have it, you have your own private keys, all that stuff. I think it's hard to take people from very little knowledge on finance to getting them financial literate, to getting them, understanding cryptocurrency in that sense, right? But what essentially most of these people are seeing right away, right, when the government forces these types of moves is, oh shit, where can I go to put my money that's free? Literally nowhere. Oh, well, there's this cryptocurrency thing, right? And as the central bank digital currencies come out over the next, the rest of this decade, essentially, the more obvious it's going to become over time for everybody. But not until people are in a kind of fight or flight situation like these farmers are in, will they really realize it, I think. So it is what it is.
It just, for me, looking at the bigger picture, you're stopping food, in what name? In the name of, because it's got to look good on paper for the fucking TLDR generation not really paying attention.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, it's got to look good. So again, green agenda, right? So I want to show you, I have a couple videos I want to play, and this is just like, this is full on conspiracy theory shit. So if you want to click away, by all means.
You want to get to zero.
But I just want to talk about this because, I swear to God, this has something to do with the fuck. I swear to God, all this stuff. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, people who took this vaccine are gonna start having problems having kids. I swear to fucking God, that shit's gonna happen. I know it, because that's the only reason. That's the only way it makes any sense. It makes not only are people fucking dying, Justin Bieber's face is paralyzed. His young wife is having brain, blood clots in her brain, and she's in her 20s. My grandma died that when she was 56, and she was a diabetic and very unhealthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling you,
well, who today came out and said some interesting stuff on that. Andrew Wiggins, part of the Golden State Warriors championship team that just recently won the NBA championship.
Oh,
he literally, yeah, they just won.
They beat?
they beat not the Suns. Who was it?
Celtics.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was the Celtics. Yeah, the Celtics made a good run or
I didn't
something
even know
like
that's what's
that.
going on.
Yeah, but anyways, Andrew Wiggins was interesting. He literally said earlier today, he was like, I won basically he became an all-star and won the NBA championship in the same season that he was forced to take the vaccine. He was basically saying, I still regret that I had to take the vaccine, even though I did win as an all-star and an NBA champion, which was pretty wild. Right. And he cited that exact reason. It was just health, his long-term health.
I'm looking at the article right now. It's on front page. 5 hours ago. Andrew Wiggins regrets taking COVID-19 vaccine on Fox News.
Yep.
They forced all their players to take the vaccine. All the
if
NBA?
They wanted to play normally. I think it was Kyrie Irving of the Brooklyn Nets who basically didn't, and he couldn't play any of their home games.
Wow.
So it was like half the season.
Basically, slavery's back. It's fucking evil, dude. Like, take this shot or you can't play, boy. It's fucking insane. It's fucking insane. It's all insanity, dude. It's all insanity. Dax Hill says this too. Dax Hill, stillborns are up 11% in the UK. I mean, Kyrie held out. He did. I think he can't. Yeah, it was based on state laws. Dax Hill. Shout out to you, Dax. He's a real G.
Yeah, Kyrie was in New York. It was the funnest of all the places.
Oh, dude, they shut down Hot Dude Con. They shut when it had all the group. The dude running the fucking thing. These New York liberals are the biggest fucking pussies on the planet. Like, you New Yorkers used to be so tough. Now you guys are all a bunch of fucking pussies, man. Afraid of a cold. You can get the sniffles. I got COVID twice, man. I hooked up with a girl in the COVID hotel. When I came back into Japan at the beginning of this year and they locked me up in that fucking COVID hotel, I was like, man, I am burning the system down with me. Some hot 22-year-old big tits, man. It was a good time.
Hey.
But man, fuck this shit. It's all garbage, man. And the thing is, this. I'm really curious to see how the Dutch situation ends up, because they are absolutely, they are absolutely not turning away. They are like, if you guys look at some of the videos, they're absolutely just friggin' tearing that place apart. They're like they took a truck full of manure water and sprayed down the government buildings. It's crazy.
Hey, do you have a video on that? I wanted to see that.
Yeah. Let me see. We got the Dutch farmers.
Dutch farmers spraying manure on the government buildings sounds like right up my alley.
It is fantastic. I mean, there's tons and tons and tons of them, I mean, my favorite video. Oh, look. Oh, here it is. Oh my God. I was looking for this. Okay, watch. Okay, cool. I just found this by accident. Sorry, it's not the one you want to see, but I want to show you this to you. Look at this. This is in the Netherlands here. Okay, and this is the signs. I can't read this, but it says blah blah blah. Produced by WEF, World Economic Forum, right? Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Gates, Schwab, Mark, Hugo. I don't know who Mark and Hugo are, but I mean, we all know who Klaus Schwab is. He wants you to eat the bugs.
Rockefellers, Rothschild, Gates, Schwab, Mark, Hugo. Farmers is food. Kijk, de brug omhoog staat, kan je het mooi lezen.
Have we got any Dutch translators? Oh, Pierre says, "Are you really happy?" Thank you so much for translating that. You guys are awesome, man. You guys are
going to the slogan of "You'll have nothing and be happy," right? It's like, all right, are you happy?
Oh, good call, Charlie. Fantastic call. Yeah. Okay, and then here's the dude. So people, when they're wearing the red scarves, here's the leader of the rebellion. I mean, dude, we're in Star Wars, dude. Here he is. He's talking about the agenda.
That's probably on this moment the main cause of it all. We're not talking about nitrogen. No, they just want to reduce the national herd. Well, every farmer all around the world and also every citizen knows that cutting back the herd isn't the cause of any problems. We are producing food. 2/3 of agricultural land on the planet can only be grown by grass, and you need cows like this for making grass into meat or into milk or whatever you want. Whatever problem with emissions, with pollution on the world you are asking about, whether it's not chemical, but farming is probably a part of the problem, but most of it all, it's part of the solution. Well, Dutch farmers now are getting angry every day more. Government is not listening. And what we are fearing for is we have to leave our land. And that's also a deeper agenda behind it. In Holland, they just want to have farmers' land. 62% of the area in Holland is farmed by farmers. And what they want to do is they want to have the land cheap. So they're making it nature first. And when they have the land in their hands, they can build houses on it. Houses we don't need by Dutch.
Bingo, right there. It's
What
all
did we
you
say
called
from
it, man.
From the beginning, bro.
You fucking called it. Land grab, bro. Land grab.
Citizens, because average Dutch couple is getting 1.8, 1.9 kids. So what's the problem of the demand for houses? That we get 100,000 refugees in this country every.
So they want to put refugee housing on there, and that's part. And that goes back to the statement I was saying earlier. When you put immigrants into the fucking like area that are not willing to abide by the rules, it upsets the balance. It causes chaos. Dude, the Japanese know this. That's where like, nope, we're not taking anybody. Like, you know, are you taking immigrants? Like, yeah, we'll take 14 students, you know. You know, you're from Minnesota and you know what's going on with you know, what are this? Are they Somalian?
Yes, a lot of the Lutheran churches essentially brought in the Somalian population.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know, there's been a lot of pushback both ways, right? With that.
Cultures don't mix. Like they've been. It's bottom line, dude. Like people kill each other over cultural dominance. Like just open a fucking history book.
Yep.
You know, and now that makes even this revolt right now is exactly why they want to bring in the immigrants. You know what I mean? To destabilize the population, to divide and conquer. Because look how united these people are. You know.
Year. That's why they have to build houses. Well, that's a shortcut of our problems right now. Farmers are getting angry. They're not listened by the government. Every solution we came on with, they don't take it. And what we see right now, when we have to reduce our national herd, when we have to reduce our herds by ourselves, farms will break down. On this moment, when the plan of the government is coming through, probably 30, 40, 50% of the farmers have to fear for the future. That's why we're on the street. That's why.
So it is all about a land grab. And let me find that video for you. But I mean, just makes even more perfect. I mean, it makes perfect sense, man. Like they just don't. I mean, the moment
follow the money. Who's going to benefit from this? The farmers. Who gives a shit if they go out of business? Is how, you know, the Dutch royal family, the PM, the World Economic Forum, all these guys, right? They don't give a shit about the Dutch farmers. Like, okay, get rid of those guys. They'll find something else to do somewhere, and then put a bunch of housing up there. We'll make a bunch of money. You know, destabilize the population while we're at it. You know, like there's a lot of different things. You know, it's like 10 birds, 1 stone.
I'm trying to find the manure video. Give me a second. There's a lot of videos, but dude, it's crazy because people are saying this is all about the global reset. You know, there are a lot of people just like, you know, for lack of better words, they're just like, "Fuck you, Charles Schwab." I'm not Charles Schwab. Klaus Schwab. Honestly, I'm not inciting violence in any way, shape or form. But I'm telling you, bro, like the shot at Lexington is gonna happen. You know. The shot heard around the world. I mean, it's gonna happen. I mean,
we've seen so many of these things already. It's like,
dude, look at Abe. I mean, I'm sorry, I like that guy, and that sucks the way he died. But I mean, if somebody's resentment is so strong that they built a gun in Japan, and like a gun-free nation, they built the fucking gun and killed this dude. I mean, There's a reason why they're not playing that all over the news in America. We don't need to build guns. We just need to go to Walmart and buy one.
Yep.
And yeah, mate, it is.
Yeah, every time we've basically said follow the money, right? Since 2020, during the Corona stuff, over time, it's some of the stuff it's taken, a year and a half to come out in terms of why they were doing these things, right? Like, and where it's obvious to everybody, right? But that by then it's too late, right? So I think it is important to be vocal enough and critical thinking enough to be like, hey, wait a minute, there's something not quite normal here, right? And whenever you see these types of overreach of power from the government into landowners, stuff that's related to control and money, you should question it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you absolutely should. And are you going to question it to a point to where maybe you take a few tangents, you go too far on one side or the other? Sure. But the fact that people are questioning it, right? And then by extension, when they question those types of things, they say, well, what can I do in my personal life to have my personal freedom, to have control of my own money? So if my bank shuts down, I'm not, I have, some stuff still that I can figure out, what to do with it. That's gold, Bitcoin, or whatever. People need to think about those things. And it goes back to that same, it's a good quote from Ray Dalio, right? If you're not worried, you should be. If you're worrying, then you're probably going to be fine, right? So the fact that you're, especially if you're in these countries, right? You should be worrying a bit, critical thinking enough to be like, okay, what do I need to do? Take care of yourself, right? First, especially with your self-sovereignty in terms of your banking. And then the rest will play out how it plays out. But like I said before, there's going to be people who listen to the government. They're going to end up in one boat, and it's probably going to have holes in it. And then there's the other people who took care of themselves, studied, figured stuff out, have the control of their own.
Just took 2 seconds to think for them fucking selves. That's literally how. That's just like, wait a minute. There's a 99% chance of me surviving this thing. I don't know what's inside that needle, and you want to inject it into me and have to sign a piece of paper that says I can't sue you and you're holding no medical liability whatsoever or legal liability, and I got to inject that into my body? All right, sign me up. Here we go.
Sounds like a plan. And it's just, right now is the time, especially when it comes to finance, right? You just have to start looking at alternate ways other than the main system, because clearly, as we've been seeing here with the different news bits that we've been talking about the last few weeks, there's clearly not a lot of stability in the wider system in terms of, long-term viability. Can you trust it? Right? The answer is not 100%. So therefore, you have to start trusting yourself a little bit more. I know there's some people who, say like, well, holding my Bitcoin in cold storage or, having my own private keys to my Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? That's a little bit too much self-responsibility, because if I forget the password or whatever, then I don't have that money anymore. Yes. You have to take at least a portion of that responsibility, whether it's 5%, 10%, 20% of your net worth, right? Whatever your long-term savings account is. If you don't have a long-term savings account, you should probably start that. So, no matter where people are, no matter what they're doing, no matter what the political situation, like literally right now, you can distribute the network, distribute yourself. That makes it harder for the government to come and control you if you control your own money. If you don't, you're at their mercy. That's it.
Yeah. And like, I got the video here for you. I got it all queued up. You're going to love it. I can't believe you've never seen this. This is funny. I played this on Dude Party. We talked about this earlier when it wasn't as, uprising as it is now, but this is a government building, and then this is a truck full of manure water. And they are covering the government building in shit water.
Beautiful. There's the nitrogen for you.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Just a nice, healthy, consistent spray.
Rightfully so. Rightfully
Beautiful.
so. So they got. I just saw one because I swear to God, bro, I'm telling you, I know I'm right about this. There is something about the friggin' situation at hand that is tied to a population reduction. Since the militant support for transgenders, which I get it. If you're a dude and you want to cut your fucking dick off, fucking knock yourself out, bro. Cut your dick off, throw that shit in a blender, do what you gotta do, whatever you do with it. I don't know. But they can't reproduce, right? Without a lot of complications and making it, a lot. The traditional way is easier to do. Let's just put it that way, right? You know, the Moderna vaccine, in 20% of the female mice they injected it with, 20% of the mice became sterile. Right? Nobody's talking about that.
That's a pretty high percentage.
You kidding me? You told me I had 20% chance of dying from cancer. I'd fucking cry. I'd start crying for a little bit, That's high. I mean, look, Sri Lanka, 20% of their GDP cut off when COVID struck, and now look at Sri Lanka, bro. It is a total mess, mate. So, I lost the conspiracy video. Come on, where was it? Depopulation agenda. I mean, it was posted on TikTok, so it's got to be real. But I mean, what Gates was talking about too, because Gates has been talking for the longest time about he's trying to build the better condom, and he has like a $10,000 reward out for anybody who can make and engineer a better condom that's like more effective. You know what I mean? And here I think I'm getting close. I was scrolling for a while before. It looks like they're protesting in Canada as well. Even that wacky British dude, what's his name? Russell Brand.
Oh yeah, he's always talking up a storm. Yep.
Even
he makes some good points.
No, he's a wild child, but even he was saying like, this is all part of the Great Reset in his video, and yeah, it makes perfect sense. There seems to be more of these global uprisings too, and they're constantly censored. They're constantly, not broadcasted to the masses, because you got to keep them dumb. You got to keep them ignorant. Like, you don't want the masses to know that they can do this.
Well, in the middle of the Iraq War, when it was at kind of its peak, like in 2006-ish, right? There were massive protests in every major city in the United States, Chicago specifically. I remember there was a huge one.
Oof.
Not a peep about anything in Chicago, right? They literally had streets blocked off, from people, in the streets protesting. Not a damn thing. So, I mean, it's the playbook for protests. Just, if people don't see it, the media doesn't report it, it's a conspiracy, right? It's not really exactly what's happening. Oh, those are not legit sources. Don't worry about it, right? They don't report on it till they have to, or till it becomes obvious.
Only follow the experts. Dude, I swear to God, like full-blown conspiracy theory, that video just disappeared. I'm just trying to protest. Damn it. I wanted to play that. But yeah, no, they definitely, I mean, again, shutting down the food. It just makes total sense that, I mean, again, they're all, and it's funny, it's tied to the WEF, right? The WEF was also saying like, this is how, they wrote that that article saying like, by 2025, Sri Lanka will be a rich, powerful nation. Here's how we're going to do it. And then they deleted it because now they followed their plan and it's completely screwed up. Let me ask you this. What do you think? Do you think that people are just like, the governments are just this dumb, or they do have an agenda?
No, they definitely have an agenda. They're not this dumb. I mean, just at least the people at the highest levels of it, right? Or, that kind of thing. So it kind of, I mean, the millionaire has a pretty good point down here. This is equation, that they view, right? Which is, If you're poor and dumb, you have no power, no influence, they win. They divide and conquer, right? And so the poor part comes after the knowledge part. Right. You have to get the knowledge first, right? Once you have the knowledge, then you can use that knowledge as power in order to get more money, get more resources, do what you want to do, right? And then you got traction, right? So that's why we're trying to give this information out here on the regular for free on our YouTube channel, so that you guys can have your own critical thinking, start gaining that knowledge base on things like cryptocurrency that you didn't have before, right? Build up that knowledge, right? And eventually, right, basically those dollars will come, right? You basically keep building yourself up. You get your side hustle, you get a new job, a better job, you get into crypto, you have as many streams of income as possible. You hustle, all these different things, right? It all starts with the knowledge base. As long as you got that knowledge base, basically you will do very, very well, as long as you apply it, right? But that's what they don't want. They don't want people thinking for themselves, right? They want people here, just toeing the media line, just following the government, and just letting them do what they want with us. I mean, it makes no sense.
Yeah, and I am kind of on the side of the Illuminati in the sense, like, there are way too many dumb people out there, right?
Yeah, but they want that to some extent, I mean,
yeah,
the education system hasn't been revamped in years.
I know. I just want the dummies gone. Yeah.
You're always gonna have them.
I want the chemos of the earth to be cleansed. I found a different conspiracy video. They're comparing Sri Lanka to Dutch Netherlands, which we were doing this whole episode. I don't know. This is just randomly. I don't know if this is going to be quality, but let's see. Assassin truthers on TikTok. Yeah, kill me with the truth.
What we are seeing in Sri Lanka is system failure, and that is nothing to celebrate. There is no victory in system failure. In fact, it is what these tyrants are counting on. It's part of the plan, and it's been their business model for decades. As simple as the mafia movies on TV. The World Bank and the IMF strong-arm world leaders into accepting loans that are designed to bankrupt the nation, while the CIA acts as management, secretly administering to the overthrow of national sovereignty and the looting of the nation's wealth. This international mafia organization has been doing it like this for years because it always works. They know that once the people become a hungry, angry mob, they can be controlled like animals. And this reactive behavior is exactly what these globalist crooks are counting on. It's why they are destroying the world's economies and creating a food crisis. So the answer is to become proactive. And that is exactly what the Dutch are now showing us. How the people of the world can achieve victory against the tyrants of the New World Order. The prolific farmers of the Netherlands are the second biggest food exporters in the world. And they know that the World Economic Forum is planning on buying up their land and cutting off the food supply for billions of people. And they also know that the people united are an unstoppable force. And so they united against tyranny and peacefully, with unstoppable strength, shut down the system. The shelves in many stores are now empty, but it's on their terms. And the people now have the upper hand, as it should be, and could be everywhere if we want it. The New World Order's plan is for all nations to collapse, which tells us that we must not wait until system failure. We must act now. Many people all over the world are now starting to rise up together with the Dutch farmers. Rising up, not as a reactive, hungry, angry mob, but as a righteous people, united in a love for humanity. Society.
Hell yeah.
I mean, dude,
that was lit.
For being a TikTok video, I mean, not too shabby.
We just need to change this to the Tokyo Crypto.
I like this guy.
The Tokyo Conspiracy Show.
Hey man, I mean, when you look at money, you gotta. I mean, somebody asked in the chat earlier, how do you follow the money? It's like, critical thinking, paying attention.
Yeah.
It's pretty much what it is.
Follow your nose, kids. Follow your nose. Yeah, man. That's one of many things. And then another one. I want to show this one. This will be the last one. There's this people like straight up clone out Klaus Schwab, and these guys used to be in the dark before, but now,
Yeah.
again,
I mean, if you want to top it off with something, I do have a video of Nicole Kidman eating the bugs.
Oh God.
If you want to go that far, but
Oh God, no. Let me find this video because there's this lady, and then the tweet itself is like, Klaus Schwab, we're on to you. Yeah, like, and again, the World Economic Forum, they pulled that video. It was the World Economic Forum, right? They pulled the video about like, you'll eat bugs and be happy, like you own nothing and be happy, whatever.
I mean, the video in terms of you'll own nothing and be happy. Yeah, I don't believe was ever pulled. It was just like, yep, this is our intention.
No, they pulled it. They pulled.
Did they actually pull that?
They pulled it, but the internet never forgets. Here's what I'm talking about. It says, "We, the Dutch farmers, will never surrender to Klaus Schwab." Here, let's see what this fucking lady. So this is just so you guys know. Anytime you see somebody wearing a red bandana, they are part of the protest against the government right now.
My hometown, folks, this is what we stand for. We stand united with the farmers. They want to disown the farmers from their property. You know what it is when you don't have property anymore? You got children. What do you do with your children? You want to become a farmer. So please stand up. And also the farmers, we get our food. Everything comes from the farmers. So when no farmer, no food. Please, 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 I beg you, wake up, wake up. Don't let this go down as many people go dead or something else, or just please wake up. Let the world show what's going on right here. It's no good. The agenda from Klaus Schwab, the 2030 agenda.
Oh, she called him out by name, dude. Klaus Schwab. Wow.
This is rolled out. It's nothing to do with disown your own folks. It's terrible. Please wake up.
So, like I said, this is like the global situation at hand here. And then here to top it off, we'll end with this one. Like they are trying to do what's called pre-programming. And everybody knows these celebrities, they're not cool, they're not rich, they're not popular, they're slaves. Okay, these people are slaves. All right, they are puppets. Look, I'm gonna say this real quick. You know who started this whole like global awakening was? It was our boy Donnie T.
Yeah.
Donald Trump was like fake news. He's like, you guys are fake news. What you're saying is fake. All this shit you're putting on, and like
and look at CNN now.
Yeah, he galvanized the nation, and then he has people are rallying for Trump in Japan. Like that man was getting the world together, and that's why they're trying so hard to destroy everything he stood for. Like him or hate him, whatever the case may be, he was just calling people out nonstop, and everybody was just like, "Yo, can't be doing that."
Yeah. Meanwhile, we have Biden reading cue cards.
Right, and fucking repeat the line. Here we go. Here's how they're pre-programming you guys to eat the goddamn bugs.
4-course meal. I'm Nicole Kidman, and I am going to eat a 4-course meal of bugs. I am here to reveal my hidden talent, eating micro livestock, cornworms. They're still alive. Extraordinary. Very moist, chewy. Can't quite describe the flavor, but need a little water. Let's try the second course, shall we? Just a little side note. 2 billion people in the world eat bugs, and I'm one of them. So here we go.
And guess what? You guys are going to be eating some bugs too, like you at home. Sign up for the bug eating mindset course coming up in 2023.
Some mealworms. I'm telling you, I'd win Survivor. That is a fruity taste. I'd recommend it. Here we have. Oh, crickets. Oh, nothing. Oh, awesome. Like nothing you've ever tasted. Like a hairy.
She looks like a fucking Chucky doll. Look at all that Botox. This is just like, this is a mutilated human.
Nut. Don't. Oh my gosh. A nut from the shell. And now for dessert. The fried grasshopper. These are amazing. These are exquisite grasshoppers. I recommend them to anyone. Thank you for spending so much time with me and watching me eat bugs. Till next time.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Yep.
It sounds like we're fucking crazy, but we're not, dude. I mean,
hey, man, all shall be revealed.
Yep. I mean, it says that in the Bible, you know. But looking at the whole situation, like, in closing, let me ask you this, Charlie. So obviously, there's a gigantic power grab being made here. It's a powerful play, but I think they overplayed their hand. I think they played too strong, too hard, too draconian, too fast. And I think now you got people. I mean, there's some people who are legitimately angry. They're like, you told me take these 2 vaccines and life goes back to normal.
Yep.
You know,
it's kind of like Dorothy, right? Click your heels twice and you'll be back, you know, in Kansas. And it's like, you're not going back. You know, nothing's, I mean, all this stuff, this, you know, is the world is changing. So, you know, either change along with it forcefully and bend to the will of the people around you, or, right, change it for the better for yourself, right? Gain knowledge, gain money, MMGF, all that stuff, right? Do all this stuff, and, you know, you will be happy in the future. You will have a future, essentially. But here's the thing that it comes down to, right? You know, whether you believe some of this stuff in terms of what we're discussing, you have criticisms of it, whatever, it's fine. Like, that's part of the discussion, right? Throw that in the comment section below. We're happy to discuss, you know, with our replay gang. But if you become rich, right, essentially, and the world does go to shit, well, you're rich. So you can make do of it, right? If the world doesn't go to shit, everything stays the same, and you got rich, well, you're rich. So you're probably fine anyways. So either way, you win. So it's like, you know, make sure that you do get your finances right. And you do take that self-sovereignty. You hold your own keys to your coins, you know, not your keys, not your coins. You saw that with, you know, we see that with banks like in Greece and Cyprus. We also see it with stuff like what's in Celsius.
Yep.
So, you know, we're just trying to, you know, spread that information out here for you guys, spread the knowledge. You know, if you want to take it. If you don't, don't. But yeah, I think people need to start thinking a lot more for themselves than they have been willing to do in the past.
Yeah. Bitcoin just broke 24K and Ethereum's at 16K or 1600, excuse me. So again, you know, and then to get kind of relatively dark when I say it, you know, think about it like this. You just got to make it until you die. You know, you just got to live good until the lights go off, you know? And
yeah, well, you come in with nothing, you leave with nothing. So enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah. And that's what we're just trying to tell you guys to do. All we're trying to do is educate you, because even if you don't have the financial resources to invest yet, with you being aware of the matrix, of the lies that are surrounding you, the lie of the government cares about you, this money is worth something, you know, oh, we you know, just buy this treasury bond and support your country because America loves you, all this shit, right? If you just are awake and you can wake people up, like, you know, the other day, the girl I'm dating right now, I sat her down and I made her watch The Big Short with me. And I was like, all right, so they're printing all this money, right? She's like, yeah. I was like, where's that money coming from? I said, which branch of the government is it coming from? She's like, it's not coming from a branch of the government. It's coming from the Federal Reserve. I was like, correct. You can sleep
There
in
we
the bed with me tonight.
go.
You don't have to sleep on the couch tonight. But you gotta wake people up. You gotta let them know, and that's what we're doing. We're not going anywhere. We're not having fake meltdowns. We're not gonna cry about our blah blah blah. We're gonna keep on educating. We're gonna keep on coming back. We kind of made a shift in the change of the show here a little bit to take really more of a geopolitical look at things and look at how the system, when you follow the rules, you fail, right? Look what happened. Sri Lanka followed the rules, they failed. The guy in the video today, hey, yeah, government said do this. Okay, trust the government. Okay, oh wait, guess what? No, we're gonna stop your funding. 15 days to slow the curve. Oh, okay, here we are 2 years later. You're a racist if you don't take this chemical injection into your body that we have no idea what it's gonna do to you. It all starts with that little bit. So you got to tell them no, because the government, this kind of evil is not going to go away. But how you deal with the evil, you just got to teach people how to do it. And I think we're slowly but surely getting there, man. Anyways, until that time comes, look, we got a last minute super chat here. Kyle L 699 super chat. These episodes have been absolute fire. Appreciate the hard work, time you both put into understanding what's really going on. Thank you so much, buddy. Yeah, man, we're here. We're not going anywhere. But for right now, we will disappear, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, peace out.